That'd be fascinating to talk to these people. Do you ever find your real emotion, like, do you ever find yourself getting emotional when you're talking to them sometimes? I know you said, you're a journalist, you got to keep professional. You're trying not to let that, but has it ever happened? Or,
yeah, of course. No, I mean, so there's a couple of thoughts on that. I think, yes, short answer is yes. A number of times. I remember very early on, like in 2003 or 4, I interviewed Rusty Yates, whose wife Andrea Yates had been convicted of murdering their children, and it was a very, very, very high profile case in Texas, but nationally. And she had postpartum psychosis. She's still in a hospital to this day. But Rusty, at the time when I interviewed him, had forgiven her. It was a phone interview as well, which was crazy. And I remember putting the phone down after this, hour-long interview and just bursting into tears. And I mean, yeah, of course it affects you. And I think that I'm involved with an organization called the DART Center, D-A-R-T, which is a organization set up, which sort of it's there to kind of deal with journalism and trauma. So it serves two purposes. So the first is journalists who cover trauma. How can you be a better journalist at understanding trauma and its impact? Before you interview these people, you should have a very deep understanding of trauma and how it works and all the rest of it, so you can become a better, more ethical reporter. And then the second sort of kind of half of their remit, if you like, is journalists who kind of get traumatized themselves doing their work. So war correspondents, but also writing or making programs or audio programs about child abuse or whatever it may be. So they're a really good organization. They have loads of resources online and stuff. I've been involved with them for a long time. But I think that they've been very helpful as well. But I think I'm the sort of person that I can get emotional about stuff. And in interviews, I mean, you can't fail to kind of get emotional when someone's telling you this about the worst thing that's ever happened to them or whatever. It's just, you have to kind of, I remember doing two interviews I did for the latest podcast season, which is about the election, Battleground. I got choked up on 2 occasions as people were telling me their stories. The latest one's the last episode we did is to do with the evangelical church, and I interviewed this woman, Lindsay Kane, who was quite a famous Christian singer-songwriter, and she had everything. She had this sort of big recording deal or sort of recording life and touring and lots of fans and all the rest of it in this world that was Christian singer-songwriter world. And she came out and she realized that she was gay, and she lost everything. She lost, she'd have tours cancelled, she'd have death threats, all the rest of it. But yeah, no, so I got choked up talking to her about her case and what happened to her. And like I said, that's an election podcast, because we divided that into 2. It was her story, and then she talked about the evangelical vote and why evangelical Christians are voting for Trump, which is fascinating. So yeah, I still to this, I've never not been able to sort of get kind of emotionally involved in an interview. I can't make apologies for that, really. I can't stop myself, kind of, and I just take a beat and take a pause, and then kind of we carry on,